Hey, live on Pat Soundbytes, Unplugged podcast. You know what I do, keeping new music alive on the radio and on the video, on the Zoom, on the YouTube, on the Instagram, on all that good stuff, and providing the best content that I can provide. And I got all kinds of great artists, as you know. Hopefully you are following me. Hit that like button. I got a returning guest, a super guy. Love this cat. Mr. Phil Soussan. I mean, he's a musician, he's a songwriter, he's a record producer, he's a chef. I hope he's going to finish that autobiography. He's an author. He's a fantastic bass player. We're talking about Phil's fingers and picks, and you might know him very well. He wrote "Shot in the Dark." He was in Ozzy's and Dio, and now we get to see him in Last in Line. Now we're going to talk about Phil's latest solo single and video called Nobody's Fool. I've been playing it for a little bit now. Came out on September 15th. So you got an idea. If you haven't been following us or hearing it, you got an idea because I'm going to play the video. That's what I've been doing. And so you get an idea of what's going on, and then you can subscribe on Phil's YouTube channel. And it's already out there on all the outlets, Apple, Spotify, who else am I forgetting? Apple, Spotify, and iTunes. So time to play a little Phil Soussan, and his current release. It's called Nobody's. There you go. A nice taste of Mr. Phil Soussan's Nobody's Fool. And speaking of that great songwriter, bass player, where are you, brother Phil? Pop on back.
I am here.
There he is. You're looking great, brother. How are you?
I'm feeling good. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Well.
Excellent. Yeah. Nobody's Fool, featuring our good friend, the incredible Phil X, who's playing a little bit with Bon Jovi, and he's also on my good friend Kurt Dimer's band. I got to meet Phil, I want to say in May, and you also had Les Warner on drums. Yeah. We know Les from the Cult. Man,
Absolutely.
Pretty good, pretty cool. It's got a little Led Zeppelin. It sounds like a little Jimmy Page thing going on. Talk to me about Nobody's Fool.
It's just a lot of these songs that I write. I love writing songs. I've obviously, you write songs that you put into bands that you happen to be working with, and then when you're not working, you sit around and you write other things, and sometimes those songs may not fit the exact demographic of the band that you happen to be working with, but you always keep the idea and for something else. A lot of the time, I just like to release these songs. I like to make these kind of homemade videos that go with them just for fun, and just put them out just for fun. I mean, at some point in time, I think I released 2 more over the last year and a bit. I've got another one that's almost done, which is a really cool song. And eventually, I suppose I'll put them as a collection onto a CD or a presentation disc or something. But in the meantime, they're really just for everyone's entertainment, just an alternative. Alternative view. And for me, it's an alternative outlet for some of my sort of commercial ideas, other influences. And, I think you nailed the Jimmy Page thing on that one, because I think the first part that I was writing was this chord thing, and I kept thinking, wow, that sounds like a Zeppelin thing. And it just sat there. I've got this remarkable device I have to show you. I mean, I don't think
Yeah,
anyone's ever
please
seen
do.
anything like this. Um, it's called an iPhone, and it's amazing because what you do is you can record ideas, and then if you go to my ideas screen, I've got this like hundreds of ideas, and what I do is I just bang them down there, and then just leave them. And eventually, I get bored. I sit around, and then I go through and I listen back to some of those ideas and some things that maybe I've forgotten about, and it's a whole new inspiration. Wow, I think I'll work on that idea, and that's what happens. That's kind of how I do get a lot of my stuff together. So,
Well, it was perfect when you released Please Don't Make Me Wait, since we were in this
oh yeah,
COVID lockdown. And I loved that song. And I had that on the rotation for quite a bunch of times. And then we had Fly Again, as you mentioned. So it's good to know you got a couple on the shelf. And eventually, I know you had, you released 2 albums as a solo artist, Vibrate and No Protection, but that was a while
yeah.
back. But yeah, I mean that's what musicians do, right? You're looking for ways to express ideas and stuff, and you turn it into music. And yeah, it might
Yeah.
not fit in last in line, but it fits with you kind of perfectly. So that's good for you, Phil. I like it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did. I mean, obviously, Please Don't Make Me Wait was a song which I think had as its original meaning something related. You know, you don't want to be sort of sitting around waiting for something, and then all of a sudden it became more poignant during the period of the pandemic. And I guess my biggest fear about that was when I did the video, which I loved the video. I loved doing the video. I loved including everybody in on the video and having people send in pictures. I thought that was a really nice thing to do. But my big fear was that people might just associate that song and the video just with the pandemic, and maybe they want to forget about the pandemic. Would it still be relevant? I like to think it is, and so I would rather, you know, I'd like to continue pushing that song as it on its own merits, you know, and rely a little less on the video when if people don't want to be reminded of the pandemic shutdown and all of the stuff that went on with that as well. But hey, you know, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, no, I love it. It made all the sense for me. You know, when this pandemic comes, I'm going, are we ever going to go back to see live shows? I mean, I was like going, man, I'm going through withdrawals. Like, this is crazy. And then you put out Please Don't Make Me Wait, man. I want to, and that's what you do. You want to perform. You want to get on stage. You want to feel that energy that the crowd is able to feed back and see people smiling and oh my God. You know, I feel I probably do, I don't know, probably 10 interviews a week. And I've been recently saying, you know, with everything going on in this crazy world that we live in anymore, and the news I don't even put on, it's like I can go to a last in line show and I don't even know the people and high five them and sing the songs back. And for an hour and a half, 2 hours, we're having a great time. And then we walk out the door. And if we could, and I don't, like I said, strangers. And if we can only carry that positivity into life of what we have today, of, you know, and everybody just being more kinder and friendlier and whatever we need to do to survive in this beautiful world. But no, you got good stuff going on. We're looking forward to your next one coming out off the shelf. And yeah, eventually I guess you'll put an EP out. Yeah, I'm sure you got enough of them on the shelf. A lot of great ideas out there.
One of my dear friends is Richie Carton, and Richie and I have been close for many years. And I was talking to him about it a couple of years ago. And I was saying, and we were both saying like that the idea now that you have to have a whole album before you can put something out doesn't exist anymore. So you can throw a single out, you can put something out there, make a video for it, and eventually you can compile them, put them together on a record. And that kind of prompted me to just start, you know, putting them out on a single by single basis. Maybe it's going back to the single concept that they think, you know,
yeah,
back
no,
in
but
the day when people.
but
Yeah.
it makes sense, Phil, because who's really listening to a whole album? I like that you put out one, let it go for 3 months, put out the video, and then throw another one out there because people can absorb it that way. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love music, I love new music, and I get, you know, killed with digital of, hey, listen to my whole album. And it's like, you know, unless it's got a really good flow, and then you know, a couple of ones in there that you go, but this way makes more sense. And it's a video, and we live in a visualized world. So if you put the song out and you put the video out and it's lasted 3 minutes, then people are going to watch the whole thing. So
Right.
it's a concept that's working, and I totally agree with you. I would like to see that trend continue to go. Is songwriting therapeutic for you, Phil? You know, just
Absolutely.
like I said before, just like getting these ideas out.
Absolutely. In fact, you know, my wife is a therapist, and I remember one day
There, you're in trouble.
she said to me one day when we met early, and Jennifer said to me, "Hey, do you ever consider going for therapy? I mean, it's whether you think you need it or whether you don't. I mean, it benefits people, helps them understand." And I looked at her and I said, "And lose every bit of inspirational motivation that I have." See, when I write a song, I mean, a lot of the time I'm digging for things that I'm having challenges with, and those tend to be things I'm passionate about. And when you're passionate about something, it helps you get in touch with them. And there's, you know, when you finish a song, there's a certain uh, therapeutic catharsism to it. You know, where you feel like, oh, I understand what I've been thinking about this. I haven't really been clear about it. It's almost a period of like going through and really, you know, breaking a thought down into its individual components, understanding it, and then reassembling it afterwards. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that there's, you know, if you wrote the the da 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 like Sting did, I don't know that, you know, maybe somebody would say, well, I don't know that that's the same sort of song. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe you're trying to say something that's nihilistic, you know. But if you are writing about something that has made you feel a certain way, has affected you a certain way, of course there's a therapeutic part to it. It's the same as sitting there meditating. It's the same as thinking. It's the same as doing a painting, I suppose. Right?
Yeah.
So
No.
that's what we do. That's what we do. And you know, I'm very grateful to be in a business where, just as you said earlier, our business means nothing unless we've got an audience. Our audience is as much as important to the process as me writing a song. And I'll always write songs. Of course, I love doing it. My dad said to me, you know, years ago, he said, you know, you should pick a career that you really love doing beyond anything else, because, and if you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I said to him, I came back to him and said, yeah, I think I'm gonna drop my medical studies. I was at medical school, because I'm gonna drop my medical studies and I'm gonna be a musician. And he looked at me and goes, anything but that.
What are you, crazy, Phil? All this money. You should be a doctor. I am, Dad. Doctor on base.
I know. But the thing is that that's what happens when I'm not working. I sit around and play. If I'm not you know, working with a band, I'll write a song. I'll pick up a guitar. I'll play something. I'll try to, you know, better myself as a player. All of those things. I mean, it's fun. That's fun to me.
No,
I mean, I don't know how many. I love plumbers, but how many plumbers have people pay money to go watch them work? You know, it's really a different. It's a very unique type of job, type of occupation. I'm very grateful and honored that I'm able to do something like this.
You and me both. I can never get the smile off my face. My first general manager at a radio station said, you know, we talked about, geez, I got a bunch of listeners. And he goes, look, if you have one listener, you have an audience. And that's all that matters. Right. And if you enjoy what you do, who cares? And I mean, I got a request from a young lady out in Anchorage, Alaska. Now I'm in New York, and she's like, I love what you do. I don't even know what time she gets up to listen, but she is so in, like, who is that? I love that song. Where do I get it? You know, because I found my niche of playing new music. And speaking of new music, a little Last in Line, a little Day in the Life coming out on November 11th on earMusic. I love it. I love the idea. I love a little bit of the concept, but I want to hear from you. Out of all, I mean, who doesn't love the Beatles? I mean, come on, one of the greatest bands of all times. Out of all tracks, how did you guys select that one? What gravitated to you to say, let's do this one?
Yeah, I kind of came to the band with the idea of doing a cover. It stemmed from a conversation I had with Dave Draymond, believe it or not. We were talking about the success that Disturbed has had with the sound of silence. And
oh my goodness, what a
beautiful performance!
What a incredible job he did.
Yeah, it really is terrific. There was a time for a long time when doing covers was maybe looked down upon a little bit. But these days, I think it's different. It almost opens up a door to hopefully a new audience. So we toyed around with some ideas for covers. All of us did, and nothing really materialized. And while we were on a break, I had the idea of I wanted to do something that was ubiquitous, that everybody knew the band. And after thinking a great deal, there were a few ideas I had, and then it was I had the idea of doing a day in the life. And the reason was because I thought that the lyric was every bit as relevant back then as it is today. My gosh, I mean, it's like a timeless lyric. And of course, it was also an epic track, and it was going to be a challenge. How do you do this? And initially, I don't know that everyone was excited about it as I was. And I remember even at one point, I think I said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And I don't know what I'm going to do. Andrew that lives here in Vegas, and he was quite excited about it as well. So, and then we said, well, let's have a look. Let's see how it progresses, how it's coming along. And as it started coming along, everyone was really interested in it. And said, yeah, this could be really cool. So, everyone did their part. I produced it here at my home studio, and we were still locked down to some degree. So, Viv had to do some parts and send them in. Vinny had to do his drums and send them in. And I produced it, assembled it here. I did the vocals here, and I mixed it here, mastered it here. And then we gave it to our manager, and he took it to the record label. And we thought the record label would just say, oh, yeah, that's cool. They flipped out. They said, this is great. And one of the toughest things to do is to get if you want to do a video for a song, anyone can cover anyone's song, but if you want to do a video, you have to get permission from the owners of the copyright, which is Lennon McCartney. And I said, there's no way we're going to be able to do this. And without going into great detail, just the planets lined up. Somebody knew somebody else, and all of a sudden we got the sync line.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then I love Matt Mahurin. He's an incredible video director. And we were sitting there thinking, we want to do a video for this, but who should we get? And I thought to myself, who would I get in a perfect world? And I thought Matt would be great. And there's no way he's going to do it. He doesn't know me. I don't know him. And I wrote him a letter. I said, hey, you don't know me, but it was a letter of introduction. You're probably not going to respond or anything. And he called me back 10 minutes later. He said, no one's ever written me such a nice letter. So we started talking, and he got into it as well. We wanted to do a timeless video, something that went with the song, that paid tribute to the song and to the era, and yet something that was almost abstract. We're not in it. We're not in the video. But I think the video is terrific. I love it. It's a piece of art. It really is. And that's kind of how it all came together.
Like you mentioned with Dave and Silence there, who would ever think, what? Disturbed doing, a Simon and Garfunkel song? What, are you crazy? And man, they hit it out of the park.
I hate to put it into numbers, but I think at the time, I mean, they were probably getting 2 or 3 million views on their songs. On that song, I looked it up. It was nearly 700 million views. Whoa. So obviously,
but the other thing, not to cut you off, Phil, the other thing is by bringing like a day in the life. Think of the new audience out there. I mean, you and I are dinosaurs. I think we're the same age.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
All right, you're 29 and I'm 60. Okay, it's all good.
I'm 29 and a hell of a lot of months.
A lot of moods went around, right, brother? But it brings a newer audience that maybe never really listened to the Beatles as much as we did growing up. And you go, I mean, even for Dave, I mean, how many younger kids is going to listen to the Sound of Silence? It's like, wow. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, and not to take away from the heart of the song of what the Beatles did and Simon and Garfunkel. And I think that's the key of, like you said it before, you're not taking away, you're just doing your part to expand how great that song really is.
I mean, if it wasn't for the Beatles, I don't think I'd be doing what I did. I mean, I was a huge influence. McCartney was a huge influence. I mean, all the Beatles tracks, I spent a lot of time when I was playing with Steve Lucas. I spent a lot of time with Greg Bissonette and the late great Brett Tuggle, who unfortunately is no longer with us. And Greg, I'm sure he's a huge Beatles fan. He plays with Ringo, right?
Right.
And so
as well as Luke.
Yeah, and he called. We talked a while ago, and he said to me, "Oh, you live in Vegas? Oh, it's great. You know, so you've seen Love?" And I said, "No, I haven't seen." He said, "What?" He goes, "I'm not talking to you again until you've seen that show." He goes, "How can you live in Vegas? Not." I know, and I felt bad because I was so busy trying to move and what have you. But when I did it, I said to him, I was so proud to call him up and say, "Greg, you've no idea what we just did a cover of. I know you're going to love it." I sent it to him. He flipped out. He loved it. But it's paying tribute to the Beatles. It's paying tribute to that whole, uh, that whole era. It's paying tribute to that fantastically famous letter from Decca, you know, where they refused to sign the Beatles because they thought electric guitar music is over. And it's a
Wow.
brilliant letter. And so, you know, proving that we start, you know, a whole new generation started. But this is kind of, it's almost like a starting point for rock bands. I see that as one starting point, just as you see Elvis as a starting point. You see, you know, rockabilly as a starting point. You see the Beatles as a starting point. If you want to pay tribute to that, it's still relevant today. I would be honored if I even got one person who didn't know the Beatles to listen to the Beatles because of something I did. I mean, I'm not going to take, or we're not going to take credit for that. But it really is just putting our, you know, our gratitude out there and saying this is a terrific thing. And it's our interpretation. I hope we paid, I hope we did a good version of it, and I hope we paid respect to
No,
the
you did
song.
an excellent version of it. Have you been playing it live? I know you guys just got away from a couple of shows up here in the Northeast. Are you able to play it live? Is it on the set list?
It will be on the set list.
Okay.
You know, because we live in remote parts of the country, and we got together and we didn't have any rehearsals, so we are using our sound checks to rehearse, and we're trying to work the song up. We've got it pretty close, and we almost slotted it in. So we did I don't know, 3 or 4 shows, and I think we're pretty much ready to put it in the next show. So
I can't
we
wait.
got to have it. We got to have it in the live show. And it's translating well live. I mean, it works well. It's a little stripped down, but that's what Last in Line does.
And Last in
That's our
Line has
sound.
one of the best sound checks or best, I want to say meet and greet VIP things where the fans can go and grab Phil's bass and play with the band. Do you still do that?
Are you kidding? I get an autograph from Vinny and from Vivian and Andrew every time I attend one of my own meet and greets. No, we do that. We had to have some restriction a little bit during
Oh,
the
COVID
restriction
thing.
time, but no, we do it. We you know, we love meeting our fans. We love we you know, we get to know them personally, and they God bless them. They're very loyal. They come out and visit us all the time. They're excited, and we're excited to see them. And it's a big part of our show.
It's funny to watch the reactions when somebody plays Vinny's drums on one of your tracks, and Viv and you are looking at each other, and Andrew's singing it, and like, this guy's pretty good. What do we need Vinny for? But no, it's a great
Oh,
idea.
that was the ultimate VIP. That's the one where somebody gets to actually
Yes,
play in sound check an
yes,
instrument of their
yes.
choice. And so yeah, we didn't do that recently, but I think we'll open that up again soon.
Cool. Well,
Cool idea.
you became an Instagram sensation. I was looking last night. I think it started April 22nd, the eternal debate, and I think it was Led Zeppelin, The Ocean, Phil's Fingers or a Pick. And now it's like, I don't know how many
Pick.
recommendations, like, there you go to pick. I mean, what you started in, I want to say April is, it's insane. I think it's great.
It sort of started as a bit of a jest sort of experiment thing. Somebody mentioned to me, you know, it'd be great if you could kind of boost your social media, because at a certain point in time, what we can do is when we're releasing an album, we put everyone's social media together. And I was like, okay. And I thought about a few things. You know, I got my cookery show. I've got this and that and the other. The cookery show is a little, you know, is fun to do. And you know, if you watch my crazy videos, I'm always like fixing something. I'm fixing a motorcycle or fixing an air conditioner or whatever. And and then I thought, well, maybe it should be focused on something. And I just did this fingers or a pick thing, and it just sort of took off. I mean, everyone was like, "Wow, what a great idea!" And people were calling me and saying, "Hey, how about this song? How about that song?" And it started a whole debate. And even people like the you know, sushi chef at my local sushi restaurant said to me, because I don't know anything about playing the bass guitar, but I had no idea there was such a difference between all of this stuff. So it's opening people's eyes to maybe some of the things that are interesting about one instrument versus another, as a bass player versus a guitar player, or something bass players don't usually get a lot of attention, I suppose. It's typically it's the singer, it's the guitar player. Bass players usually, I don't know, what do? They seem to produce a lot. I've noticed that. They tell jokes. but they have a very I like to think that bass players have a very unique and a very important role in the band. It's what joins all the rhythm, all the melody. It joins everything together. And if you want to go into classical music, that the idea, the concept of figured bass is a very important one. But seriously though, it really is opening the doors to people who are not familiar with music as to maybe the different nuances between different instruments and the roles of different instruments and the way that you approach it. And then for people who do play bass, they write to me and they say, hey, I play bass and you're doing something with your left hand I've never seen. What is that? What are you doing there? How do you do this? So it's been really fun, and it's all on one theme, which I like. So
no, has there been a favorite one?
Answer.
Has there been a favorite one that somebody wrote to you and said, hey, Stone Temple Pilots, I know you done Robert DeLeo, love Robert to death. He's incredible. Oh my goodness.
There's some great bass players out there, and I want to, that's another thing, is I would like to spotlight some great bass players and some great bands out there, so that people, when they listen to those bands, they say, well, you know what, let me have a listen through and let me see if I can listen to what the bass players are doing on this, because they need some kudos for some of the things they do. And people like Trevor Bolder, who's a huge influence as well, amazing bass player. Bob Daisley is close to home with incredible bass players. All these guys are just great, and it's nice for me to be able to sort of showcase them a little bit as well. So I do it a little bit out of tribute to them, and I do it out of a little bit of my own joy and fun, and it's an eye opener for people. So it's fun to do.
Have you heard from any of the bass players that you're playing? Like, have you heard from Robert or any of the guys that you're covering that goes, you're doing it better than me?
Nah, fuck no. No, don't call me. I did one of Mike Inez, and Mike and I are old friends. I didn't even hear back from him. So no, I don't expect anyone's going to call me, but you never know. If somebody does, that would be nice. But I'm not doing it for that reason.
Well, I always say thank God for YouTube, Phil, because my wife says the dryer's not heating up, and I'm like, wait a minute, we don't need a new dryer. And I watch it, and I go, it's a thermostat fuse. I go and buy the $10 part. I fix it. I go, yeah. I'm like, we don't need a dryer. It's all good. I got it working, honey. So when you're fixing the motorcycle, when you're doing the cooking shows or the air conditioner, you never know, right?
Absolutely. I'm just that kind of hands-on guy. I love doing that kind of stuff. So
when are we going to see?
Grateful.
When are we going to see this autobiography? Hearing all the stories.
I want to try to release it early part next year, because that's when our album comes out. So in the meantime, I'm still doing this incessant reading and reading. It's the weirdest thing, Pat. I don't know if you can even grasp the concept, or anyone out there can grasp the concept. When you're writing a story, an autobiography, because it's constantly a changing thing. I mean, you're still writing it, and then you go back and you keep changing details and you keep changing things. And sadly, all of a sudden somebody passes away, and I've got to listen to people who I miss, and then I have to add a name to that. But also the way that the stories are told, that changes too as you go through things. So you want to make sure that it's at a certain point in time, you have to kind of end it and say, okay, this is the end.
Right.
This is it. I'm abandoning it at this point, and that's going to be it. But I'm looking forward to doing that early part of next year. I would say February, March, around that time.
We're looking forward to. My brother says, look, you have met so many people, and every time you go to a show or do something crazy, I did the dice game with you guys. I came up with this, roll the dice, and if you get 5 of a kind in 3 rolls, I play the entire album. And I've had from Alice Cooper to Billy Gibbons. Billy pulls out his own dice out of his jacket. I mean, I can tell you, I can spend hours on you can watch my videos and see everybody rolling it. Paul Rogers, I love Paul Rogers. He says, you want me to roll a dice? I got a 16-track live album. I said, Paul, roll the dice. And I got to meet Paul.
I've got it here. I just got it here. I got that album.
He says, hey, turn around. And I turned around to talk to his wife, Cindy, and he goes, look, there you go. I did it. And it was so funny. You're working. I know you're a record producer. You're always getting phone calls. Phil, be on my track. Help me out. Are you working on other projects that you can
Yeah,
share with us?
I just finished recording an album with Michael Voss and with Carmine Appice. I got to be careful how I say that name
Oh yeah,
because working
Carmine
with both of those,
Appice, Vinny
Appice,
Apathy. Yeah.
Apathy, yep. So Carmine and Paul Shortino's singing on it, and it's
Oh,
a terrific record. I got asked to play bass on it, and as we started getting into it, it wasn't just a simple, play bass on this album. It turned out to be quite quite in depth. The songs are terrific. There's a great commerciality to them, and they all stand up on their own, and they cover a multitude of different styles. And I really worked closely with Carmine on it. We went back and forth on individual songs. Wow, man, what a pleasure to do this. I mean, obviously, Vinny is my brother. I love playing with Vinny, and it's a great honor to play with Vinny. But Carmine too, as a drummer in his own right. We've known each other many years. I've never had an opportunity to record with him, and if you like, it's a bit of a bucket list thing for me. I mean, people would know that Bonham loved Carmine. I mean, he looked up to him, and Carmine's a legend. And so the opportunity to actually make a recording with Carmine was a terrific thing for me, and I was very very humbled by that. So I really enjoyed it. We just finished that record. I'm not sure when it comes out, but it's really cool. Michael is a German guy. He's quite well known for producing Michael Schenker's albums and stuff. So, and he's playing guitar on it. Paul's been singing great on it. I haven't heard Paul Shortino sing this great in years. So he's really, all the songs are just perfect for him. So his voice sounds great in them. So that was fun. And then I just produced a single for Prophets of Addiction, Leslie Sanders. I've been mixing their albums and mastering their albums for years. They're kind of a sort of, you know, uh, brash punk kind of Ramones type band. And we just did a video and a single, and I think they're going to get a deal on it. So if they do that, I'll be producing a whole album for the next year. But go look up Prophets of Addiction. They're actually there's a great charm to them. They're great. They're great guys, and I love Les. So yeah, I keep busy.
Phil, what are the skill sets for to be a really good record producer besides being a really good listener and obviously having a background in the industry as yourself? When these bands and friends bring something to the table and you listen to the demo, I mean, what are the skill sets that are needed to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking?
Skill sets are, first of all, I made a joke about bass players being producers, and it's not so much a joke because as a bass player, you do the same thing as a producer. You are listening to all the parts and trying to hold them together. You're listening to what the vocalist is doing. You're trying to play uh, what's called figured bass melodies against the vocals. You're working within the guitar. You're working with the drums. So you are listening more than you're playing. As a producer, you're also listening. When you produce, you have to come up with ideas and thoughts and stuff that are for the song, not for any individual instrument. If there is an individual instrument, it's the vocal. So the vocal is what has to come across, and everything you do has to complement the vocals. So again, you have to have a bit of an overview. Bass players, I think, because of what they do, tend to, by nature, have an overview of what everything else is, what is going on around them, in a very unique way. And maybe that's why it makes, you get a sense for that kind of stuff. The second skill set, which is tricky, is you have to be able to make decisions. So many times bands who are self-produced will call me and say, hey, can you mix this record? And I say, sure. And they send me the stuff. And then I say, you've got 10 guitar solos. Yeah, we put them all down, but maybe you can comp something, maybe you can assemble something together. Well, that's the job of the producer. You've got to make those decisions. That works, that doesn't work, that sounds good, that doesn't sound good. We don't want to have 55 guitars because that's all you could ever think of. Someone's got to be in the seat doing making those decisions and cutting away the things that you do not need. I love to use an analogy with people. When we talk about producing, or even when we talk about writing, and somebody says, well, I don't really know what to do, I don't know what to write about, I use the analogy of somebody who's carving out a statue. He looks at a block of stone And he says, I don't need to create something. My masterpiece is in this block of stone. I've just got to take it away and cut
Chisel it
the pieces
out.
I don't chisel the bits I don't need. And that's really the essence of what you're doing, whether you're writing or whether you're producing. You want to take out, cut away the stuff that's not unnecessary, leave the stuff that's important, bring it down to a minimal amount, and then make something out of that. That's my own philosophical overview of production.
Well, you must do a great job, because I know a lot of folks are calling you and asking for your input, and that's all really good stuff to hear. I mean, if anybody needs a record producer, you need somebody to cook you a dinner, fix your air conditioner, your motorcycle, looking for something to do, you definitely want to hook up with Phil, which I'm hoping to hook up with Phil and Vinny and Andrew and Viv, as they are coming back on tour, not too far in the near distance, and coming back to the Paramount in Huntingtonville in Long Island for 2 shows, November 19th and the 23rd, and Teaneck, New Jersey at the Debonair on Sunday the 20th, which I might have to take a trip down. But as Phil mentioned before, keep an eye on lastinline.com and check out the tour dates, as there could be extra additions or changes here or there. My goodness, Phil, I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I mean, that EP comes out 11th. It's I've got a couple of advanced copies. It looks amazing. It's a big gatefold vinyl. If you buy the vinyl, there's only 3,000 copies, and they are getting ordered like crazy. The disc is silver, and it's way cool. There's a sneak track off the new record on there as well. There's 2 live tracks that we've put on there. And then, you know, it's already delivered, that the album comes out end of February, beginning of March, which is, we're working on the vinyl for that right now. I just did the vinyl mastering for it. So, and it's a really, really good record. 12 tracks on it, and it's our 3rd album. And I'm not going to tell anybody what it's called yet. We're just going to keep all that stuff under wraps, but it is coming out.
No, it's all good, Phil. And anybody wants to pre-order the EP, to go to Amazon or earMusic or Last in Line?
Yeah, go to Amazon. Just type in Last in Line, Day in the Life, and you'll see the vinyl come up. There, it just pops right up there. So, yeah.
My friend, thank you so much. As always, I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I have.
Absolutely, Pat. It's always great to see you. Always great to be on your show. Thank you so much for everything you do, and thank you for keeping a fire burning for me. So
there you go.
I really appreciate that.
That's what we do on Pat's Soundbites. We're keeping new music alive, whether it's Last in Line, whether it's Phil Soussan, it don't matter. We're blasting the hell out of it, because folks want to hear more. Anybody can play the hits, but you got to play the new stuff, and there's a ton of new stuff out there. And don't forget, pre-order, as Phil said, Last in Line, earMusic, and check his stuff out. And it's all good. Phil, man, God bless, safe travels, and see you in New Jersey.
See you in New Jersey. Looking forward to seeing you.
Okay, my brother. All the best here on Pat Soundbites Unplugged podcast.